Hey folks, welcome to the show, episode 72, Geelong vs Fremantle review. Let's get straight into the scoreline, folks. Who won the game? And that was 16 goals and 14 behinds for Geelong, equaling 110 points. For Fremantle, well, they kicked 14 goals and 16 behinds, equaling 100 points, folks. 10-point winners to the Cats. And now we're going to talk about who was the goal kickers for the sides. We're going to start with Geelong. Big Neil, 5 goals. Manahan, 3. Cameron, 3. Clark, Henry, Dangerfield, Smith, Martin, single goals apiece. Fremantle's goal kickers were Dudley, 3. Bolton, 2. Tracy, 2. Sarong, Amos, Jackson, O'Driscoll, Reid, Young, Brayshaw, single goals apiece. As well, that rounds out Fremantle's goal kickers. Who was the best on the day? Well, that was, for Geelong, Holmes, Smith, Neil, Stewart, Cameron, Manahan. For Jackson, Sarong, Clark, Dudley, Young. No injuries to either side. A crowd of 28,715 down at GMHBA Stadium. Lovely stadium. I got to go down and luckily enough to see after my fire deployment in Victoria, and it was a lovely stadium, and I was really looked after very well within the state, so very appreciative of that. Let's get into the first quarter, which was, the scoreline was 3 goals 1 for Geelong to Fremantle's 8 goals 4. So amazing start by Fremantle. It was one of Fremantle's highest scoring quarter time score outside of WA. So yeah, highest first quarter score outside of WA and 5th highest in club's history for the first quarter. So the Dockers led 8 goals at 4 to 3 goals 1, as we just mentioned. And also won the clearance battle, also scoring from 75% of the forward entries that they had. So over 3/4 of the shot, folks. Amazing sort of start. We got a few notes here as well. For Geelong, Bailey Smith had an early impact, with Holmes getting clearances as well, even though Fremantle won the battle in the clearances. That would have been within the first 5 minutes. Bolton had early touches. Sarong, Brayshaw both had clearances and touches, so both, 3 of the sort of guns getting involved early in the game. Then you had Jeremy Cameron also got an early goal and seemed to give the Cats a bit more forward structure. So he's missed the first game for them in the opening game against Gold Coast, and now he's back. It takes the pressure off Neil. We just mentioned he kicked 5, so we'll get into a bit more of the game. For Freo, they needed two defenders to stop Jeremy Cameron. That was the obvious thing straight from the start of the match. And there was images of Pearce down in the change rooms. It seemed like he may be playing injured. So that was a noticeable thing straight away. And Geelong did have good forward/midfield lock-in pressure. But the quick release from the half-back for Freo allowed them to run the ball and carry. And Murphy Reeds, he had great kicking skills to start the game. It was quite noticeable. And Sarong, he was running forward for a goal, ran hard. Tracy, Amos, Voss all started getting their hands on the footy throughout the first quarter as well. So you could see some of the key forwards were getting on top of some Geelong defenders. So we'll talk a bit about that. So they were struggling on the Fremantle key tools early, letting Freo run the ball out of the centre. That was a key issue for the Cats within the first quarter. So 17 minutes before Pearce got to play into the game, so obviously needed some work early, or was a little bit worried about something, whether it's just a thing he's going to be playing through. And they needed him to stop Cameron/Neil. That's their key tools, and that was very obvious at the start of the game. So yeah, essentially the umpires missed a kicking in danger at one stage of that quarter, which was, there's a couple umpires across the ground now. They missed a key sort of part of that. And sometimes I find they do miss on missing the kicking in danger a bit. It's a key element to try to protect players. Just a noticeable one there. But yeah, Geelong couldn't stop the chain link of Fremantle. And also, I like that Geelong were giving Jai Clark a bit more game time. I feel like he's that extra runner in that midfield that can help out Geelong. To me, it's good that he's getting a bit more game time. He'll get better as the games go on, as he plays. So, Tracy bringing in his preseason form for a key tool for Fremantle. And Young starting deep forward. Jackson getting over the Geelong ruckman. That's noticeable. We got here his stats. Let me just quickly talk about the stats of Jackson. So, yeah, he played against young cat Mitch Evans, and he was really good around the stoppages and the hitouts. Let's just have a quick look of what hitouts he had in the end. So we'll just get the stats up now. So player stats, we're just bringing up now, folks, straight to the hitouts. He finished with 22 for Darcy, 15 for Mitch Edwards, and Bliss Halves had 9. So that was the ruck battle there. We'll continue on through the game. You can just see the setup. They did have 2 out of 6 intercepting marks went Freo's way. So quite an intercepting game for Freo. Geelong sort of just had to settle, get back in the game a bit, and their defence settled as the game went on. They had a bit of slow ball movement throughout the first quarter. And on into the second quarter, after obviously Freo had the highest score in first quarter outside of WA, which is impressive. Geelong started to get their hand on the ball a bit better. Manahan's ability to move forward and kick 2 in a row. So Manahan, he is a really experienced mature age player who's just fits in that lineup very nicely for Geelong. He's a great player who just is slotted straight in that lineup for the last couple of years, and he's done really well. So you had Stewart versus Amos. That's a good battle because Stewart does peel off his players and can read the intercepting mark quite good. And that's one part that sort of he just reads the ball so well, and that's how they got back into the intercepting game, and then sort of brought the game back together. And Freo didn't quite get so much interceptions. Their ball use got better, the Cats, but Murphy's reads finish is quite clean. He looks like he's just kicked on quite nicely as a player. And yeah, bad halfback kicking in and losing a stoppage. And Freo just moved the ball forward quite well. That was a bit of the Cats' issue through the second quarter. And 385 games since Dangerfield hasn't had a touch of the ball. And he ended up having a touch in time on in the second quarter for his first touch. Now, that man is a legend. It's amazing he's gone that many games without a touch to that time. It just highlights how good of a player he is. And I'll tell you what, folks, you can never keep a good man down. He got involved in the game, obviously kicked a goal. But see, the Cats still got back in the game. They're easing him back in from a calf injury. So there's no worries there. I can tell you what, as his workload ramps up, he definitely is going to be a player. He is just one of those players that are just hard at it and only knows one way to play. That's just a tough brand of football. He's a hard man to stop. And he is just, he is that team alongside Jeremy Cameron. It's amazing how they make the other players around him stand tall. So that it was slow for Geelong, and they started just getting back into it. Dockers moved to a 5-goal advantage with the big Tracy kicking 2, and the pressure to make Geelong lose the ball at the half back was really good. The half forwards were just putting that pressure on them. And Scott, as the coach, would have been looking down to see that. Dangerfield, first touch of 2 minutes 18 left in the second quarter. Freo was letting Geelong 2-3 in the forward line, so that started to see the issue and how Geelong were getting back into the game. So that's quite noticeable. Geelong's pressure is quite better. Tall forwards getting clean run at the ball from the air. And due to the pressure, they'll be able to bring it back to 10 points. So it's amazing they got such a good start. But the Cats, folks, they just reined it in as they do at home. They are a tough team to beat at home. And, yeah, sort of poor kicking for Freo allowed Geelong to get back into the contest. And letting Geelong's pressure get to them. You know, they got the crowd involved. We also had Pearce versus Neil. And Neil started getting on top of that battle, folks. He just starting to throw his weight around for the big man. He's got a lot of talent. And after making the move of Hawkins retiring, he seems that, you know, is this going to be the year where he constantly kicks 5, takes the pressure off Jeremy Cameron a bit? They can ease Jeremy Cameron back into the game. He did kick 3 for the game. Neil's 4 goals. This going into the third. And yeah, half-forward pressure allowing 6 of the last 7 goals went to Geelong's way after this point of the game. Geelong was running in waves. Had the first opening round teams had advantage from that look, that they just looked a little bit fitter. I mean, in hindsight, I think Geelong are just a good side. I think Longmire had the coach after the game. I thought he had good points to say that, you know, maybe everyone should start in the same week. I think that's just a common sense thing. But that being said, Geelong are a good side, and you can't keep a good side down, folks. There's just no doubt about that. So as for Dangerfield had his third disposal with a goal from in that term. So, yeah, he still, you know, managed to get back into the game as well, as we've mentioned. I might have mentioned he may have kicked one before, but no, it was in the third. So just going from my notes, from what I remember. That's why we got the notes, folks, just to make sure we catch in on all the game. Freo was allowing the pressure in the forward lines to get to him. Missing goals. Needed to stop Geelong's movement. Letting the ball exit the half forward and the deep forward, and missing key goals. Only the 10-point margin with Murphy Reid missing. So that, you know, that those misses, folks, they allowed Geelong to get back into the game. Smith, you know, was running hard and got him back into the game. And just Geelong's pressure through the midfield and half forward really just rattled Geelong. I've mentioned that a few times. They were missing shots to put Geelong away. Voss was quiet after the first term, and also his first game at Geelong's home ground. They were the notes of the game, folks. So that was what I noticed clearly. I'll just make sure that's all of them. Yeah, that's all of them, folks. So let me just talk. We'll talk a little bit about stats and what player performances were. And yeah, they were trailing at 35 points at halftime, the Cats, so almost 6 goals down. But as we mentioned, they went on to win. Neil kicked 5, Jeremy Cameron 3, Max Holmes 32 touches, 5 clearances, and Geelong responded after its opening round loss to Gold Coast in style. Luke Jackson did his best for Fremantle with 27 disposals, 22 hitouts, 10 clearances for the big man, and a goal. Also helping Sean Darcy also got the better of debutant Mitch Edwards in the ruck. So, look, there is a clear problem with Geelong's ruck. we've been saying that for a little while, and obviously the Geelong coaching staff and that would know about that. They tried to obviously go for Marshall in the off season, and it just didn't quite work out for him. It's unlucky. They're gonna have to develop Mitch Edwards or get Reece Stanley back. I think that's probably the most important part of their game. So Sarong, 30 disposals, 8 clearances, 1 goal. He worked tirelessly, while Josh Tracy, 2 goals, 8 marks, was a constant threat for the forward line of Fremantle. So obviously coming in with the preseason games, when you're going to play this team, he is the forward line player. You're going to have to shut down. You could shut down Voss and Amos because they were 2 that were shut down and they're beatable. So the Cats did their homeworks, folks. They shut 2 of the 3 big forwards down. So that's just a little clue to the other sides. You know, if you get enough ball in the midfield like Bailey Smith and Holmes does, there's no doubt that's just good enough that you can beat. And obviously you need to have a key forward to kick goals down the bottom end. For the Cats, so Zaya Dudley played well. Central District's lad. Shout out to you, mate. 3 goals. Shah Bolton 2. Yeah, they were dangerous at times. Along with Murphy Reid. Dockers led 8 goals, 4 to 3 goals. Oh, sorry, that's in the first quarter. Sorry, we're just scrolling through. But basically, Neil's 5th goal gave them enough breathing space late to hold on for a tense finish to the game. So, for me, we're going through the stats. I've started taking some notes throughout the game because it's just good to take notes. I tend to just watch the game and then sort of go from what I think. And I've just started adding in a few notes. Just because notes are quite a good thing to go through. Just key things that you can add in. So I'm not normally one that just sort of speaks straight from the heart, but just thought I'd do it a little bit different here. Add a few notes. We'll talk about the stats. We talked about the ruckman's hit out. The struggles with maybe Geelong's ruck. Look, Brayshaw and Sarong were good, but then went missing in key parts of the game. Geelong, they just do it again, folks. They are a good team. They're very well coached. I think the coaching out-coached Fremantle's Justin Longmire. I think Longmire probably showed a bit of frustration. And, yeah, he made some valid comments. And I'm all about fairness. I'm a fair man. And I think, you know, once they can get everyone to just play on the opening round, I think that's just fair in overall thing. But it's not a defining match outcome. Geelong at home are very good. You need to respect that as going to their home ground and beating Geelong is very hard. There's no doubt about that. Neil, Cameron, 5 goals and 3 goals. They're tough. You're going to have to shut them down. You're going to have 2 really good defenders. 1 big defender play on Neil. And almost as equally big, but just as fast on Jeremy Cameron. He's just an elite talent. They need to keep him fit. I feel like it takes all the pressure off Neil. That was a key element. That's where they won a lot of the ball in the forward line. Obviously playing on Pearce that may have been injured. McDonald, I thought, did okay down back for Fremantle. I thought they had key parts of the game that did quite good. But for the midfield battle, I thought Holmes and Smith got that run on. I just think if they can... Tanner Bruin's playing good too. He definitely helps that midfield. If they just get Dry Clark in there as a bit of a runner, I feel like just a few little pieces, if they can get a couple of runners in. Warple, when he's back in, it just less reliance on an inside midfielder a bit. Then they don't have to run Dangerfield through the midfield as much, play him up forward. And when they really need him to run through there, they can put him in there. And it lightens the load for the man, the champ of Geelong. I just think that's covered the game pretty good. Freo, they'll learn a lot. They're going to be a good side as well. Geelong, did they blow the cobwebs out in the first game and just come out and smash this game? You're only going to see that side get better. They may have a few older players, but I tell you what, it doesn't take long for them to build the gas tank up, and they're ready to go, folks. So don't ever ride out the Cats. Geelong and Fremantle, both going to be good sides and given a good crack. That's the game. I'm happy with that. We've got a bit of new lighting and a bit of better structure here at the podcast. Just like to say thank you to everyone. Off to the next episode. The good old Crowies. And then the next game after that, which will be Brisbane and Sydney. Yeah, so Crows and Collingwood before this. So yeah, like and subscribe. Thank you to everyone. Cheers.